Hey guys, what's going on? And welcome on back to Football Therapy with me, your host Jan. I do hope you're doing well, mate. I really do hope that. Welcome back to Chelsea News. This is the daily series here on Football Therapy where I reflect on what is being said about Chelsea, giving you my thoughts on it as always. But as always, more importantly, asking for your thoughts. I'm a little bit ropey and delicate today. I had a tough day yesterday. A real tough day, and I ended up spending far too many hours in the public house. And therefore I'm a bit delicate, so you must excuse me if I'm running on half a cylinder, but I will try my darndest to bring you some Chelsea news today, and in today's piece of content we'll be reflecting on Chelsea Confidential, Kieran Gill's update on... Apparently we're going to spend big in every position for the men's team, which will be interesting to learn about. But I have to start, unfortunately, with some rather concerning news regarding the women's team. And of course, it's the exit, but ultimately the sacking of Paul Green, the former head of women's football at Chelsea that's been such an important figure, and brings some concerning stuff to light with Chelsea's so-and-so swinging sporting directors, mostly or seemingly... more pertinently, Paul Winstanley, who is not the most popular figure at Chelsea, I must say. Right, we are going to get into it, so we'll do the women's stuff first. I do think it's important. I don't speak enough about the women's team. I try to every now and again, but I'll lead with that, and then we'll get into the Chelsea Confidential stuff. So thank you for joining me, as always. Very grateful for your support here on Football Therapy. Hop on for the ride, and let's get into it. All right, so there's an excellent piece on The Athletic, put out by Megan Feringa, Kyrus Jones, and Charlotte Harper. I must admit, I haven't read all of it. I've listened to the Straight Out of Cobham podcast, which of course is the Athletic Chelsea podcast, where Megan came on to feature and speak about this. And it's very concerning stuff. So of course there's been a huge change with Chelsea, not just, Abramovich going and new ownership coming in and, the whole hierarchical structure. Now, of course, we lost really key important figures from our recent history, and Emma Hayes and, for example, Neil Barr for the academy. Now, I think they left of their own volition. They weren't sacked. It seems like Paul Green was ejected from the club. But, there was nice, good, positive PR goodbyes to Neil Barr. And obviously, Emma Hayes wanted to go back to America and do this project. So we did a big thank you. And it was kind of nice optics and goodbye and parting of the ways. And, it was with a heavy heart. But it seems like, okay, things are changing. They want to leave. And it's... the new guys are going to thank them for their service, and they would have kept them. It's like Emma and all this stuff, but yeah, certainly they would have kept Emma. But they bring in Sonia Bonpastor. She has a great start. She wins the league again. Really, really dominant domestic performance, and it seems like the women's team was still being run like Abramovich's Chelsea. Do you know what I mean? You bring in a superstar manager, a Champions League winning manager in Sonia. You sign Galactico signings, Myra Ramirez, Kira Walsh, Lucy Bronze, winners, seniors, players just come in and keep winning the title. And that felt very Abramovich Chelsea. But it is changing a little bit. And it would seem Paul Winstanley has been bleeding in his influence into the women's team. And Paul Green, who's now left, he was the former head of women's football, so highly thought of by, obviously, the likes of Emma Hayes, but indeed people around the women's game and the players themselves who were devastated. The opening line of this piece says it's like watching a masterpiece being torn apart in the women's team, which is very, very heavy, and it would have been remiss for me not to speak about this. I don't speak enough about the women's team. I do watch games. I do watch, I support Chelsea because... as a kid, do you know what I mean? All my mates support Chelsea, my best mate, my dad, his dad, and that was the men's team. Do you know what I mean? So and now as an adult, I obviously follow the men's team a lot closer, but I am still interested in the women's team, and it is concerning what's happening there. Like I said, it is those sporting directors again trying to infiltrate complete control. Also looking like they want to make the women's team a bit more of a trading club like the men's team. I kind of get it a little bit more in men's football, especially in the modern landscape of PSR and, there's money to be made and you can still have a good first team. But the women's team, it just seems you don't need to wring the revenue. It just seems like the figures involved as well and recent sales is like, Raheem Sterling's weak wages for a player. So yeah, it just seems silly to me. And the optics on seemingly, obviously there's Paul Winstanley and Lawrence Stewart and oh my god, Joe Shields. I think Joe Shields is probably slightly more of the popular. I know he's not one of the main two sporting directors because he brought in Cole Palmer and them man. But Paul Winstanley seems to be chief antagonist. What's being represented in the story, getting involved, and it reeks of a sort of arrogance. Like, who are you to be so qualified to, you're the sort of disruptor in Chelsea and in the market, but in the women's game as well. I mean, look, I need to be consistent. I do like a lot of stuff that they've done. I do genuinely think under the old regime, let's say Michael Emenalo, under Abramovich, I don't think he signs Cole Palmer as a Man City youngster who's sort of played a little bit. I don't think he certainly doesn't sign from the Brazilian league like Estevão and André Santos, who are two players I love that we bought. And it's very exciting. Of course, we broke the transfer record twice under these sporting directors in Enzo Fernandez and Caicedo. That very much is old school Chelsea because we used to spend big on players. And I do like the long contracts, low age to a degree. I think that protects us, and I think it incentivizes players to play better, so you don't get people that put their feet up and collect their flat 300k a week. I always, even far beyond the new owners, I always said I wanted that here on the channel. I had a podcast in 2017, and of course I started YouTube 6-7 years ago, so far predates all the shake up here. So I've got to be consistent in my opinions, but I really don't like this. Well, some of the stuff obviously they're doing in the men's team, but getting involved with the women's team and dismissing Paul Green, it's pretty disgraceful. Well, we hope the women's team can get back to winning ways, smiles on their faces again, and I was worried about Sonia Bonpastor's managerial form at Chelsea, but she remains. She's got a new deal, so let's just hope she sorts it all out. Right, off to the men's team, and now I'll be citing Kieran Gill's piece on the Daily Mail plus Chelsea Confidential. Why the Blues are set to spend big in every position this summer. Latest on Mark Cucurella injury, and the bizarre way Joshua Champong could have stopped Leeds' controversial equaliser. Do we really have to peel back and go into that again? By the way, I'm not going to preview the Hull game because, it's going to be the B team. Right, let's read into this then. Chelsea insiders are anticipating a busy summer transfer window with potential incomings in every outfield department after what they turned into a sleepy January. Every outfield department. Having lost out on Jeremy Jacquet, the 20-year-old centre-back, who of course signed for £60 million pre-agreement with Liverpool. 60 milli. Late in the window, the Blues remain in the market for a defender. They did not hastily switch their deadline day focus to other contenders such as Como's Jacobo Ramon or Bournemouth's Marcos Senesi, which I would have liked. But we did some data comparisons on those guys in a previous video. Or other players pitched to them by intermediaries, as Confidential understands the desire was not as strong as it was for Jacquet. Instead, they recalled Senegal international centre-back Mamadou Sarr from, of course, his loan at Strasbourg. He is now set to face Hull City in the FA Cup 4th round on Friday, which will be his first appearance since, of course, he had a brief cameo in the Club World Cup in the summer. 8 minutes, I believe he had. And, just listening to the Straight Out of Cobham podcast, Liam Toomey spoke about how he speaks impressive English, Mamadou Sarr, which is helpful as a Chelsea player. Rosenia will not reveal his lineup to the players until the day before Friday's FA Cup tie at Hull. My suspicion is we'll see Starr starting against Hull. Sarr will have trained for nearly 2 weeks before the trip north and has played, of course, under Rosenia at Strasbourg. Yeah, I want to see him play. I think it's important. I think he could be really, really good for us, and it's a vital time. Both Sarr and Hato were sent to warm up when André Santos picked up a problem away at Wolves on Saturday, with Rosenia ultimately opting to bring on the latter. Uriel Hato. Because of the way Leeds' game unfolded, Sarr never got the chance to come on. Yeah, maybe we could have done with him in moments there. Chelsea have also have midfield and attacking candidates in mind for the summer. They were open to accelerating their interest in January if the opportunity arose, but it did not. Yeah, I mean, the January window is tough, man, to do any good, meaningful business. We had a couple of crazy Januaries, certainly that crazy one with Enzo and Mudryk and all those guys, and we broke the record, didn't we, for transfer spend. What is happening with Mudryk as well? The Blues have been long-term admirers of Adam Wharton at Crystal Palace and linked with Elliot Anderson at Nottingham Forest, two Premier League clubs with whom they have a healthy relationship. Yeah, we've just recently sold to, Hudson-Odoi. Obviously, we sold to Forest. Lots of stuff with Palace. We've done loans and sales or whatever. I, out of the two, would, of course, much prefer Elliot Anderson. You know, he starts over Wharton for England. So therefore, he should be Chelsea's priority over Wharton. However, it remains to be seen if Chelsea would be willing to spend big again on the midfield position, as they did, of course, like I said earlier in the video, with Caicedo and Fernandes, or if they feel it's wiser to chase a target who could cost less with potential for his value to increase. I mean, what is happening with Lavia? Lavia is still a £58 million player. 58 million quid. That's not chump change. Rosenia keeps talking about him like he's such a good player. When we get him back, we need him back for good. I guess we need we need the Reece James. I mean, I hope Reece James is back and available. The Reece James recovery and the Wesley Fofana. You know, seemingly Cole Palmer played 90 minutes. He's injured or recovering from an injury. So. Yeah, we need that with Lavia and Sugo as well. We've got loads of midfield options, and when you see Reece James and Hato playing midfield, I don't know, man. I mean, Kendrick Pyers, I know he's more of an attacker, but it does seem there's like a lot. Do you know what I mean? Naturally, secrecy surrounds the names of targets, and Chelsea do not want to upset the clubs they're currently playing for. Though Confidential understands that Julian Alvarez, who keeps getting mentioned by South American media, ESPN Argentina, is not among them right now, despite the Atletico Madrid forward being heavily linked. So just yesterday, I think I spoke about that. It was it's mainly ESPN, Argentina, South American media saying that Chelsea are in discussions with Julian Alvarez. But this is Kieran Gill saying, no. It did seem a little bit far-fetched, considering not necessarily. Well, maybe it kind of did seem far-fetched, but at the same time, obviously he wants to go to Barcelona, but Barcelona are hella broke, and, you don't even know you're going to get registered to play when you sign for Barcelona at the moment, so there is that. A little bit on the Leeds leveller, the goal. Confidential can confirm Chelsea and the Pugmol, the PGMOL, have been in contact since Tuesday night's disappointing draw with Leeds, with conversation described as civil, respectful, and as a part of maintaining a positive working relationship. Wasn't a punch-up then. John Brooks is set to referee the Brentford-Arsenal game tomorrow as planned, with it appearing the PGMOL are comfortable with his VAR call to allow Leeds' leveller to stand versus Chelsea. This is the handball, despite complaints that Jayden Bogle handled the ball in the build-up before the No Okafor goal he tapped in. I mean, it did look like a handball for me. Per the Premier League's current set of laws, only the actual scorer is penalised, regardless whether his handball was accidental or deliberate. That means that VAR Brooks had to decide whether Bogle's handball was intentional in order to gain an advantage, and he did not see. Yeah, I don't think it was intentional, so whatever. And a strange quirk of the rulebook that Josh Achampong and co. would have seen it better served allowing Bogle to score himself, because so in if it hits his own hand and then he scores, it would be ruled out. It's such weird laws, man. It's so weird, isn't it? It's almost like it's hit his hand, you stand back and be like, score a goal. Now they can rule it out. But the fact that I went to Okafor, it is annoying. Okay, a bit on Achampong then. Of course, he's been much criticised, the teenager, for the game against Leeds. Bit tough, he's a lad, and, He's talented. He'll have these moments. Achampong faced criticism when he's failing to clear the danger, of course. It looked like he had the chance to do so. He very much did, by the way, for the Leeds equaliser. There is a fair conversation to be had regarding whether a loan this season would have benefited the 19-year-old defender from the academy. Getting those mistakes out of your system and, more importantly, learning from them is a key element to those moves. Hell, I remember being told that when I was sent on loan back when I first joined the Mail in 2014, I had a 6-month temporary stay at a regional newspaper. No one cares, bro. However, it was agreed in January that it would be best for Achampong's progress to stay with the first team. I mean, they do love him at Chelsea, you know. The player and his family stressed the player and his family stressed they wanted that also. I'm so tired, bro. I thought I said he wanted to go. Well, I thought that's a bit of a spicy twist. No, apparently they all wanted him to stay at Chelsea. All parties aligned on the decision to turn down loan proposals. Fine. Achampong has made 20 appearances for Chelsea this season in total, across all 4 competitions they're involved in. That's not bad. If he finishes on like 35, 19-year-old, be alright. Achampong will learn from what happened versus Leeds, even if he was far from the only one that fought from the equaliser. Yeah, no one looked good. I mean, him and Sanchez were probably, bless Achampong, he's probably chief culprit. Then maybe Sanchez for not taking responsibility. I don't think Trev looked particularly good on the goal. After Hull, Rosenia will finally have a week without a midweek match for the first time, which is absolutely chicken oriental. That's not happened yet since he's been like flown in. And he'll have some time to work on the training pitch, which he'll really need actually. So, yeah, man, Blues sweat on Cucurella. Chelsea are still sweating on the scans from Mark Cucurella's hamstring injury after he was forced out of their 2-2 draw with Leeds at half-time, with the club hoping for positive news. He will not make the FA Cup trip to Hull, of course, and, of course, Hatto is there. He looks good at times, Hatto. We can hopefully develop, and, I mean, he's pretty rested this season. He's been quite underused as well, so we're hoping Hatto can step up when we need him, which is important. And who else could play on the left? I suppose maybe Benoit Badiashile as a left footer. Gusto's played left back. Reece James has played left back. It's not ideal, but you know there are sort of options there. News of Thomas Frank and De Zerbi leaving their clubs on the same day took me back to May. Talking about De Zerbi and Chelsea. Okay, right. Okay. So yes, spend big in every position. I must say, that seems a bit silly. Not midfield. I mean, I think we're gonna go on. I think we'll probably go big on a winger, personally, and possibly a striker. Although with all this Julian Alvarez stuff, I genuinely think we've got a special we're developing a special talent in João Pedro. And he looks like, you know, I'm loath to compare Chelsea players to Liverpool players, but a little bit of a Bobby Firmino, but dare I say a little bit more direct and stronger, like goal scoring, but really good false nine, amazing link up with Cole Palmer, and you want your striker to supercharge Cole Palmer because that's how you win games. And if he's only 23, if he keeps scoring and keeps assisting and winning penalties and yeah, you know, swap numbers with Delap. Actually, maybe don't swap numbers with Delap. Maybe the number 9 is still cursed. But, you know, we don't need to buy this, like, superstar striker. Keep developing João Pedro. Make sure Delap's good enough to be, like, your Michy Batshuayi's, your Loic Remy's of this world. You know, your second striker. And maybe just buy an elite left winger, you know? Maybe just buy an elite left winger. Maybe you keep one of Gittins and Garnacho. Maybe you sell Garnacho. You buy someone else. You know, Gittins will remain an understudy. Still a very young man, like 20. I think he's very young, or 21. You buy like an elite left winger, and then, you know, you get your centre back. And hopefully we just become an elite team. Start winning lots of trophies again, because that is what everybody wants. The Chelsea fans just want success. We demand success, and that is represented by trophies. Right then, slightly shorter video than usual. I go a bit longer than 20 minutes, but I'm very tired. Like I said, delicate today. I probably need to lie down and eat. So thank you for joining me. Thank you as always for supporting the content. I'm very grateful. Look after each other. Take care. Peace.